Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to today's coffee chat. Well, here we are at the holiday time of year. I'm recording this on the Tuesday, and we've just had all the Black Friday kind of craziness and the Cyber Monday sort of stuff, and holiday parties are in full swing of things. I don't know about you, but my calendar is packed with different get-togethers and parties and gatherings, and I'm starting to think about my menus for the events that I'm going to be hosting. And so with this being the time of year, I knew that the cookbook that I wanted to review for this time of year is this one, Fraiche Food Full Hearts by Jillian Harris and Tori Wesszer. A nice close look for you. This beautiful cookbook. And so it was all about a collection of recipes for everyday and casual celebrations. And so I thought with that celebrations focus, it would be perfect for this time of year. Before I dive into the review of this cookbook, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button down below, the little notification bell, so that you can join me each week here on Thursdays when I post a new video from just casually over a cup of coffee here in my kitchen, have a conversation. I review cookbooks, I review foods popping up in the grocery stores, I talk about nutrition and food, I bust nutrition myths, basically all of the things that when people find out I'm a dietitian, whether it's in a cocktail party, this time of year there's a lot of that, or at a networking event, or what my friends, colleagues, pull me over and ask me about regarding food and nutrition. That's what I share over this cup of coffee with you. So today, reviewing this amazing cookbook. As you can see from all of the little tags here, I have given this a full, thorough review. I've been cooking up a storm with the recipes from this cookbook. And so this cookbook is by these two beautiful women. They are fellow British Columbians, so I like to throw my support for them. And Tori is a dietitian here, and we all know Jillian Harris through the TV, and so I wanted to do a thorough review. When I saw that they had published this cookbook, I knew exactly what I was going to do, that I would put it to the test and review it here. I want to be really clear. Even though they're both British Columbians, I don't know either of them personally. I know Jillian Harris just through the TV, like most of us. And I have, even though she's a fellow dietitian here in the province, I have never met Tori. So this is an unbiased review. I also want to be super clear that I bought this cookbook with my own money. This is not a sponsored post. So with that in mind, let's get deep into the review. I have my notes here because it has been thorough what I've been doing with this cookbook. So first impressions first off, this is a beautiful cookbook. If you are like me and you're a sucker for texture, for the tactileness, it is heavy. Like, I'm doing my weights today holding this up for you. And the texture of the pages, it just feels really nice to run your hands over it. And the photos, you would expect nothing less with something from Jillian Harris, right? The photos are beautiful. A couple of examples here for you, and lots of fun photos of them together as a family. It's all kind of in these milky tones. It's very ethereal. If you're like me and you love to curl up with a cookbook in bed and look through the pages, if you love to pour a cup of tea in the afternoon and review cookbooks, look through them, look at the pictures, plan menus, this is a great cookbook for you. Every recipe has a photo and they're all beautiful. Now, getting into the substantive part, what is in here besides some beautiful photos? Well, they start off with a really cute little kind of background on each of them, their family, why they've put a cookbook together. How cute is that, right? And then they get into a really handy kitchen and pantry staple list. I find these are really practical and really handy, so love that they included that. And then something that I thought was quite unique about this book, and what I quite liked it for, is they have a whole section on celebration menus. Different menus you can put together for different celebrations based on the recipes in this cookbook. So, for example, they have a Mother's Day menu. They have a Father's Day menu. They have a garden party menu. They have a birthday menu. They have a Thanksgiving menu. So really nice examples of how to put together a menu. I love putting together a menu for celebrations, and so I love that they did that in this cookbook. And then we'll get into the table of contents, the recipes themselves, how are they organized? There's breakfast, there's appetizers and snacks, there's salads and soups, there's main dishes, veggies and sides, desserts, drinks, and vegan substitutes. Definitely something that is quite strong about this cookbook is that they have a lot of vegan options for things. Now, it's not 100% plant-based. There are meat, poultry, seafood recipes in here, but for a lot of them, even if they do include, say, some dairy or eggs, they have vegan substitutes. So I thought that was really a unique bent, a unique thing that they did, quite a handy technique. Because even if you're incorporating more plant-based meals into your diet, or whether you're having some people over who have dairy sensitivities, dairy allergies, egg allergies, that sort of thing, it's handy to have recipes and substitutes for depending on who is on your guest list for your celebrations. Now, getting into the recipes, I tried over a dozen of them, and from all the different sections, and here's my little rundown here. Okay. All right, checking my notes, make sure that I didn't miss anything that I wanted to share with you. Okay, great. So the first recipe I tried were the sunshine muffins. I love these muffins. Really, to call them a muffin, it's almost a stretch because they're really a collection of shredded veggies and fruits with just enough batter to hold them together in a muffin. So I loved that. Especially if you have some picky eaters in your household who aren't very keen on vegetables or fruit, or perhaps it's a partner, just saying, these muffins were delicious. Same with if you are looking to kind of mix up your snack yourself or your breakfast yourself, but you still want to have lots of vegetables, fruit present. Great recipe. And it makes a huge batch. It says it makes 2 dozen. I don't know what happened, but I found that it made over 3.5 dozen muffins. So, I love that. I made a whole bunch fresh for myself. I gave some to my parents. I gave some to my sweetheart with his kids, and then I froze a whole bunch. So I love a big batch muffin recipe. Thought that was great. Great recipe. The next one that I tried, we're getting into the appetizers and sides. It is that time of year where there are a lot of potluck function, a lot of potluck gatherings, so it's nice to have some dishes in the repertoire to do for that. Or maybe you're having people over for a little cocktail or gathering at your place before you head out somewhere. It's nice to have some appetizers in your repertoire. So when I saw this vegan version of the classic spinach and artichoke dip, I was all over that because, that is one of my favorite, 1980s appetizers. Was the sourdough bowl that you kind of dug out and you put the spinach dip in there. Does anybody remember that? Maybe I'm showing my age, but I loved that recipe when I was young. And so when I saw a vegan version made with medium tofu and cashews, I was like, I am all over this, and it is delicious. What a great alternative, a healthy version of that nostalgic dish. Love it. Definitely adding that to my potluck repertoire. Then moving on to the next one. Oh, I thought this was a great appetizer kind of side idea as well. And this was their rosemary polenta fries with smoky tomato dip. Show you a little option there. This is fantastic. I thought it was such a clever idea. I mean, I love polenta anyways. And, often when we're providing some, tray of nibblies at our own house, or we're going to a potluck, we do some dips or cheese and that. And usually we put maybe some crackers on the side. But with so many people being gluten-free these days, I thought this was an awesome idea to do some polenta fries so that they're gluten-free. And I tried them, super tasty, really quite simple, and that is definitely going to be in my repertoire. Now, I did not try the smoky tomato dip, I admit, so that one I can't speak to, but I was intrigued by the polenta fry concept and loved it. Great one. And then I also tried this big, huge, beautiful salad, the Harvest Kale Slaw with tahini dressing. I love a winter salad that is chock full of stuff, and that's what's going on here. And again, this makes a huge portion of it. So this is not just, a couple of leaves in a bowl, for if you're just two people. No, this is like a big event salad. Then it's a great winter one. There's kale, there's cabbage, there's dried cranberries in there. Beautiful addition to Thanksgiving or a holiday or even any kind of a winter gathering. This is a great recipe. So loved this one. And the tahini dressing, yum. Super yum. Now, getting into the soups, this is the only recipe I tried that I didn't care for, and I'm sorry. I'm a huge fan of beets, so often if there's beet recipes in a cookbook, those are the ones I'm trying. They're one of my favorite vegetables, and I love trying new ways. And so I did try Granny's borscht, and I'm sorry, Jillian and Tori's granny. I didn't care for this one. Yeah, I just found the soup didn't quite come together. It's kind of watery and yeah, it just didn't quite come together. And I admit I have a fantastic borscht recipe already in my repertoire, so it was up against some pretty stiff competition and just didn't stand up. So apologize for that one. There's always one recipe in a cookbook, or often there's many that you don't care for. And I have to say, of all the recipes I tried in this cookbook, this was the only one I didn't care for. So yeah, that's the way that one went. However, getting into the main dishes, another recipe that involved beets that I tried was this pink pasta. It totally intrigued me because I have to say that I love a creamy pasta. And it goes all the way back, all the way back. When I was a small child, when I was growing up, I was moderately picky and I liked a lot of my mom's food, but eating out at restaurants was often quite tricky for me. A lot of things I didn't like. But one of the safe foods that I often would choose in a restaurant, because I often liked it, was fettuccine alfredo. Fettuccine alfredo was on the menu. I was in there and that was a favorite. And so I honestly, even from those days, I love a creamy pasta. And so when I saw this one, which was based on cashews pureed, like a cashew cream sauce, I thought, ooh, this I need to try. If you've been looking at a few of my reviews, been watching for a while, you'll remember that when I reviewed Carlene Karst's A Beautiful Cookbook, and I'll include a link to that video below, they had some creamy pastas, some healthy plant-based, not creamy pasta sauces, and I definitely was trying those. They were some standouts, some delicious options. And so, of course, when I saw healthy creamy pasta in this cookbook, I gave it a try. It was delicious. Now, in the cookbook, they recommend just 1 or 2 small pieces of beet in there. I threw the whole sucker in. I love beets and I want the antioxidant power, the anti-inflammatory power of all that beet. And so I threw it in there. Mine was like deep, deep pink, not this little like blush that they had. And it was amazing. So glad I did that. That is definitely going to be in my rotation of a comfort food dish for those days when you just want like a creamy pasta type of thing. But it's cashews, so it's beautiful for the healthy fats, beautiful protein, plant-based. Love that option. Okay, moving along to the lentil shepherd's pie. I love a lentil shepherd's pie. I think it's a great option if you're usually a meat-eating family and you're looking to incorporate more beans and lentils, but you don't really have a big bean and lentil crowd, or people are often in your family are complaining that after a plant-based meal they don't feel full afterwards. They feel like something's still missing. A lentil shepherd's pie is a great way to go. And this one in particular, delicious, delicious. They've got portobello mushrooms and in with the lentils, and so it gives that umami, that unctuous feel that you're looking for from meat. And so you have that satisfaction from it. And then they also do both sweet potato and regular potato mash on top. And now they recommended 2 separate layers. I admit I was not that over the top, and I just mixed my sweet potatoes and my plain potatoes together. But again, in this dish, they created a vegan version where you used the cashew cream again instead of a butter for the mashed potatoes. And that was genius. I have to say, the most rich mashed potatoes that I have ever had. Like, this is a hack that I'm going to be using not just for this recipe, but for my mashed potatoes in ongoing in general, because that was the most delicious mashed potatoes that I have ever had. So hats off to you two. Love this technique. Absolutely going to be doing it. So thank you for including it in this cookbook, because it was like mind blown, stars like shining, like and I used creamy cashews before. I never ever thought to put it in my mashed potatoes. Thank you. Amazing. And so this recipe, now I gotta warn you, it has a lot of steps and it takes a long time to make it. So this is not like your 30-minute weeknight meal. This is when you want to be spending the afternoon on a cold, rainy, miserable day. You want to be in the kitchen, in the warmth, making something amazing. This is the recipe for you. Awesome, awesome recipe. Moving along. What one do we have next? What else did I try? Ooh, moving into the sides, the vegetable side dishes. Potato, garlic, cauliflower mash. Yummy. Yummy, yummy. Now, I don't know about you, but many people that I'm recommending for are moving people to a little bit lower carb. And so mashed potatoes, obviously quite high carb, and white potatoes mashed are quite high glycemic carbohydrates. So they're going to spike your blood sugar quite quickly. And yet I've tried some, using straight cauliflower mashed in the past, and it misses some of that comfort food feel. So this I thought was quite a good idea of kind of splitting 50-50. Half potatoes, half cauliflower, mash it up together. It also would be a great recipe if you have a bit of a picky eater who isn't into a lot of vegetables, but they like mashed potatoes. So this is a good idea for them. And again, they use the creamy cashew for this mix. So again, it's a vegan option or you can use the creamy cashews and maybe a little bit of regular butter so that you have not necessarily a vegan option anymore because of the butter in there, but it's still a rich, creamy idea. And yeah, loved that concept. And then another side dish that I tried that was super standout was the creamy dill mushrooms. If you are a mushroom lover, I highly recommend trying this recipe. Again, while it says creamy, it is a vegan recipe. You use that cashew cream in here. And it was delicious. There's a little white wine, there's the creaminess, the mushrooms, so they're hearty, they're satisfying, and really quite elegant too. So a great recipe for a regular night, but also as a side dish if you're doing some entertaining. Loved this dish. Moving on to the dessert. Stand out baking and dessert in this cookbook. And that says a lot if I'm saying that, because if you've been following me for a while, you know that while I love to cook and I'm a good home cook, I am not a baker. I am not a baker. That is not part of my skill set. So if I'm baking something and it turns out well, anybody can bake this. And I have to say, this citrus olive oil bundt cake, oh, delicious. Delicious. It was moist. It was strong citrus flavor, which I want. And I even made it without the glaze. You know me, I like to do minimal sugar, even in a dessert. And so, yes, there is sugar in the cake itself, but I didn't add the extra glaze on top. I'm also, as I said, not a big baker. So if there's extra steps that I can avoid, I'm not doing those. But yet this is a beautiful cake, either as a cake itself, like as a celebration, or with a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, like a coffee cake, tea cake type of idea. Beautiful choice. I also served this one to my sweetheart who is from Lima, and his eyes lit up when he tasted it. It was something super nostalgic, very similar to a cake that he grew up with. And so I want to thank you for that, because that just made his day. He loved that. And hey, if you're foodie like me, you know that the food in Lima, some of the best in the world. So if this cake was reminding him of something from there, that's quite the compliment. I also made their coconut cake, the naked coconut cake. Now again, I made the super easy non-baker version of this. I just did it as like a flat cake, just a square cake. I didn't do the stacking and the icing and all of that. So I can't speak to the icing, but I can speak to the cake. Beautiful. If you want if you're eating a coconut cake, you want coconut flavor. And that came through completely, even without any icing, because no coconut icing on there. There's still beautiful coconut flavor. It was moist, it was coconut. Exactly what I want in a coconut cake. And also, this cake has no dairy, but it has a lot of eggs. So it's super moist in that way, but if you're looking for someone with a dairy allergy or someone who is dairy free, this is a great option for them. And then last but not least, certainly not least, I made the raspberry almond oat bars. Raspberries are my favorite fruit or vegetable. Really, that entire category, raspberries stand head and shoulders above the rest for me. So if there's raspberry anything, I'm in. And so when I saw these bars, I knew I would try them. And again, they're baking, and so I have to say they're not complicated. There are a few steps involved. You have to do the raspberry first, and then you bake the bottom, and then you add the raspberry, and you keep layering. So there's a number of steps involved. So it is kind of complicated from that point of view, but the steps themselves aren't complicated to do. There's just many of them. So appropriate for someone who isn't a strong baker, but delicious. And they are egg-free and dairy-free. So if you're looking for a recipe that works for folks with those sensitivities, those allergies, it's a great fit. They label it as vegan. However, it does involve white sugar in there. So depending how strict your vegan is that you're feeding, may or may not work for them. But what I really liked in this is often if you're doing like a raspberry bar, it'll involve raspberry jam. And if you've ever made jam, you know that there's equal amounts of sugar as there is jam. Like in this recipe it calls for 3 cups of raspberries, so there would be 3 cups of sugar to make raspberry jam. However, they used a really interesting technique in this bar in that you use chia seeds to create some of that gel that you're looking for in the jam. And so they were able to drop the sugar way down to 1/4 cup. Now that still is a fair amount of sugar, but versus 3 cups in a jam, I mean, that's a significant drop. And so I really liked that technique. And I think I'll use that in other recipes, other things too. It would have been delicious on some toast instead of a regular jam. So thank you for introducing me to that technique. And I really like how it reduces the overall sugar in a bar like this. Obviously, there's almonds in this bar, so it's not going to be suitable if you're looking for a nut-free facility or working, obviously if you have someone who has a nut allergy, it's not going to work for them. But I love that it's egg-free, dairy-free, much less sugar than many other of these types of things. And oh, delicious. The raspberry flavor comes through really strongly. And I used frozen raspberries. I mean, it's December. I'm not buying fresh raspberries for something like this. And it still was very raspberry forward, which as a raspberry lover, I love that. And I think even much more so than if it had been a raspberry jam. So love this recipe. This is going to be one that I will be continuing to make, maybe for myself, for my sweetheart and his kiddos, as a little sweet treat for them too. So those are all the recipes that I tried that I can give in-depth information on. Really liked this cookbook, but I have, how do I say? There's specific situations and cooks who this is going to be a good fit for. If you are comfortable in the kitchen, you're an experienced cook, and you love to entertain, you have big family gatherings, say on Sundays. If, like me, one of your love languages is to cook for people, this is a great cookbook. However, if you are a new cook, kind of a beginner cook, not so sure, and if you're looking for like quick weeknight 30 minutes or less meals, this is not the cookbook for you. Because all of the recipes I tried in this book take a lot of time. They take a lot of time. There's a lot of steps involved. There's often pre-soaking the night before, or steps you need to do first before you even get started. And so that is something to keep in mind. However, each of the recipes makes a lot of food. And that's something that I look for. If I'm going to spend significant amount of time cooking something, I want it to last more than just tonight. If it's just for myself or my sweetheart, I'm looking for, if I'm putting that investment of time and effort into making a dish, I want it to make a lot of food, either because I'm feeding a lot of people in that moment or because I want leftovers that I can put away in the fridge, put away in the freezer, and then use for those quick nights. And so this was fantastic for those options. So if you entertain, if you're comfortable in the kitchen, you love to do a lot of cooking, that's your idea of a fun, like rainy Sunday afternoon, is to get in there and cook a whole bunch of beautiful food, great option. And if that's someone that I just described is on your gift list, beautiful, beautiful gift item for them. So if that's you, if that's somebody that you're looking for a gift for, this cookbook, absolutely 2 thumbs up, Kristen approved. For going ahead and getting a copy for yourself or for someone on your wish list, I'll include a link below to go through to Amazon. That is my affiliate link, so I get a little income from if you use that. Or, of course, you can always pop down to your local bookstore and support them. That's a bit of a long one today, but I wanted to give you a thorough review of this beautiful cookbook. There we go. Those are my thoughts. If you like today's video, let me know. Give me the thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up button. Have a great week. Do some Christmas shopping or some holiday shopping or attend some holiday parties. Have a lot of fun this week. I will be back next Thursday morning. See you then.